we come together again from different countries in Europe. Good evening to Jos, a representative of the Netherlands. And good evening to Nancy. Oh, hold on. Good evening to Nancy and Jitlada to help with the coordination. Good evening to my fellow Englishmen and women from the other side of the canal, Mr. Craig, Terry Craig, and Ms. Ashley. And we also have somebody from, I suppose this is a Scandinavian country, I'm not sure. Somebody, Cassandra Henriksson. Normally, people who have a name ending with son is usually from Scandinavia. Anyway, it's nice to see all of you. Tony is here as well. Oh, you're from Sweden. Oh, that's good. I'm talking about Cassandra. Tony is actually not from Sweden, but he is from the United Kingdom, but with Italian blood. Am I right? Yes. That is correct?
Yes. My grandfather came to England 100 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, so, well, I forgive you. No, I'm just kidding. It's always good to hear Tony again. Sometimes he prefers to meditate in his office. That's okay.
Yes.
And we have James from Helensburgh, which is also in the United Kingdom. And just now, Lombi Pisit, who some of you know as Lombi Tam, he has also been joining us, but he is a little ill, so he prefers not to show his face. I hope he recovers soon. And the same holds for Jos, who is also still a little ill. But she says she has COVID, but she looks very healthy and strong as usual. So maybe she just finds an excuse to meditate. Okay, well, good evening to everybody, and let's start with a meditation for today. Today is actually, tomorrow is Vesak in the Thai tradition. And I could just have talked about that as well. I have in previous years. And you can find my talk about Vesak on YouTube. And I will link it to you later in the chat. But today I would like to talk about a topic which is related to Vesak, which is about developing an awakened culture together. But let's first meditate. In recent weeks, I have been emphasizing the posture a little bit more. When we are meditating, we should not underestimate the importance of a good posture. If we are still new to meditation, we can sit on a chair. But if we are still healthy and strong, and we are already meditating for a while, I recommend to meditate on the floor. Just so you will find more stability in your posture. If you're sitting on the floor, the traditional posture is the right leg on the left. In meditation posture, which is sometimes by yoga teachers called the settee posture, with the right hand on the left hand. But we can actually sit in any variation. In general, sitting on the floor makes us more stable than sitting on the chair. But whether we are sitting on the floor or on a chair, there's two things to keep in mind. First of all, we should make sure that we are sitting on our sit bones with a straight back. The easiest way to sit comfortably with a straight back is to allow the pelvis to tilt forward just a little. That is almost only possible if you have some towel to raise your buttocks. For most Western people, this is a necessity, even if you're sitting on a chair. If you're sitting on the floor, of course, normally everyone will find a seat, will find a cushion to sit on. Remember that it doesn't have to be very high. We can just sit on the border of the cushion, on the edge, I mean. And in that way, we will also get the tilt in our pelvis and sit with a straight back. The second thing is to take care of our hands. Traditionally, the posture used in Thai meditation traditions is the right hand on the left, with the right index finger touching against the left thumb. With your hands palm upwards on your lap or on your legs. You can find this posture in all our meditation pictures and Buddha images. So if you are still at a loss how to sit, just look at some pictures of our tradition. Why is this important? Well, our hands will help us to determine our mood. If our mood is very tense, then our thumb and index finger will touch each other in a tense manner. If we are with a tension that is a little loose, that is, we are very comfortable, we are a bit distracted or even sleepy, then it may be useful to notice our hands as well. We will notice this because our index finger and thumb will no longer be touching each other. So this is how our hand will function as a barometer, as a meter to determine our mood and to find the right balance. Softly and gently, we find our way by finding the right posture which is comfortable and at the same time we feel aware. Then we breathe in deeply and we breathe out slowly, just to get a little bit more in the present moment. And we feel a sense of relaxation and well-being come over us, as though we just had a warm bath and we feel quite at ease. We feel a sense of relaxation and well-being coming all the way from the top of our head, our forehead, our eyes, our mouth and jaws. We feel our neck and shoulders relaxing, our chest and abdomen. We feel our hips relaxing, our legs and our feet. Once we have been able to relax our body, we just leave it as it is. We leave our body untouched. We leave our body natural, in a natural state. This will help us to find poise and even-mindedness, starting with our body. We have now relaxed our body. Now we will leave it, and we will dedicate ourselves fully to our mind. We will now learn to allow our thoughts to be, the thoughts that come up in our mind, even if they are very difficult thoughts that frustrate us and determine the mood of our mind. We just have to learn to let them be. We do not resist any thought. But on the other hand, we also do not get distracted. Our thoughts may want to pull and push, but we just let them pull and push. Just like a little child that is asking for attention at the wrong time. We don't shout to the child. We don't push it away. We simply have to learn to sometimes ignore the child and do so with a smile by simply acknowledging the presence of the child, the presence of our thoughts, but not responding. Not responding at all is the heart. Even if we have some interesting idea or plan, we have to let it go. The time to think and ponder will come later. There's nothing wrong with thought, but if we do not shut off the machine, our thoughts will never work well. That is the same with everything in the world. If you never shut it off, it won't work well. In the same way, our mind and heart sometimes just need to pause. And whatever great ideas we might have, we leave them for later. All the noise, all the chatter in our minds, we just let it be. We don't respond. We don't expand. We don't follow. But it is a practice. Sometimes we are lost in thought. Then we just get back. We now are also learning to enjoy the moment in the present, to be content and find some ease, just being here in the present. This feeling of contentment and ease will help us. Our awareness will want to stay in the present moment if it is pleasant to do so. In the same way as our mind always works. If it's pleasant, our mind will go to that experience. We cannot always force our mind to stay in the present, but we can build a home that makes it pleasant for our mind to stay. As we are sitting like this now, you may find that we gradually find it more pleasant to be in the present moment, even if there's some noise inside. We then continue to go back to the center space within. And we already know where the center is located. We already know where to find it. It isn't that hard, as we have already experienced the center many times. The center will always feel as our core, as our place where we want to rest, where we want to be. So if you are not yet at the place inside where you want to be, then make some adjustment to find that place. But we do not actually have to physically feel it. We can use our imagination, although many people are able to feel it. It is not necessary. Sometimes the center feels very large. Sometimes it's very tiny and small. In order to stay at the center, the most important principle is to allow yourself to be happy and make it pleasant for yourself. If you feel like listening to a mantra today, then we just switch on the mantra. Sammaraham, Sammaraham, Sammaraham. We switch on the mantra inside our mind, listening to these wonderful words that come from the center space. But if we like to also have some visuals, we can use our memory to remember a sun or a moon and allow the first image that comes in our mind of the sun or the moon to be our beacon, to be our light that helps for our mind to find a way. If the sun is very vague, then that is okay. If it has a strange color, it is fine. We simply just settle for whatever image comes up. And the light of the sun will gradually become clearer when we are more at ease, still and comfortable being within. Our awareness of the center is very soft, very subtle. It's like a deep sense a deep sense of being centered, a subtle sense of being centered within. Never do we have to force ourselves in any way. If we do feel like that, then we adjust and regain our sense of well-being and happiness. When we are at ease and comfortable, then our mind will become more still. When stillness and even-mindedness arises, then happiness arises as well. When we are happy, then we will feel gradually a deeper connection with the center, and that may even appear visually to us as a light, and eventually as an image that appears out of itself, by itself, regardless. The most important thing is the sense of comfort, happiness, well-being. Everything else is secondary, is less important. We always maintain the balance between a sense of well-being and a very soft and yet consistent mindfulness. A mindfulness that will carry along the meditation and will deepen our practice in a natural way. Mindfulness is never about intensity. It's always about consistency. And if we remember that, then we will easily get there and will find the right balance in meditation, softly and gently reconnecting with the center space within. Be confident in the process, in the method, and the wisdom of our teachers. Let us meditate together in silence. As we approach the end of this meditation, we take some moments to extend the soft feeling, the feeling of peace within, to extend that outwards to all the people in the world. We smile towards ourselves. We smile to ourselves and allow the sense of peace and allow the sense of ease to expand throughout our entire body and mind. And then we extend our good wishes from the center outwards to all the people in the world who we love and hold dear, to all the people in the world who we do not know, who may be in need of happiness, in need of less suffering. And we extend our kindness, our good wishes to all the people in the world, even to those who we dislike. May all the people in the world, those who we know and those who we don't know, those who we like and those who we dislike, may all be happy. May they all find the peace within through the power of this meditation. Tomorrow is the day of Vesak, a day of peace. Once, a long time ago, one man who later became known as the Buddha found wisdom and awakening under a Bodhi tree in India. And in this process, he discovered the beginning of world peace by finding inner peace within. Let us expand this inner peace outwards to all our fellow human beings for these wonderful, for these silent moments. Then we gradually come to the end of today's meditation. We gradually become aware of our senses again. We can hear the sound of our neighbors. We can hear the sounds of the birds outside. And we can also feel our body. We can feel our hands and our feet. And we can feel the seat on which we are sitting. And as we approach the end of the meditation, we are reminded that we can take the center space along with our daily life. Whenever we feel like it, we can remind ourselves of the center space within. We can feel it, even only very softly, very subtly inside of us. Then we gradually open our eyes as I finish today's meditation with a short chant in the Pali tradition. Sappe Buddha Palapata Pace Yang Palang Arahantanam Jate Jenarakang Hantami Sapaso Sapaputta Nupavena Sapathamma Nupavena Sapasangha Nupavena Satasoti Bhavantu Te. How was the meditation today? Did you enjoy some silence? I'm not sure if you could hear me well. Maybe there was some noise on the background. It was okay?
Yes, it was okay.
We can hear you okay, Taka.
Okay. My sound was not cut off?
No.
That's good to hear. It's really amazing what these filters can do these days. There's actually a lot of noise here, but nobody can hear it. It is, in a way, it's quite good because if you come to think about it, right? If a filter can filter out sound, can filter out noise, so can we. So it kind of becomes your teacher as well, this filter. Really, it does work like that because you kind of, you know, there's a lot of noise, but nobody seems to mind as you are meditating. So it kind of becomes natural as a teacher not to mind as well. Anyway, the noise here is quite natural because there is renovation going on in the temple, and that's a good thing. We all need a little change now and then. I see that Frankie has joined us as well. I don't know if that is the same Frankie that I invited to join. And we also have one person who turned on her camera, who I've seen before, Safi, right? All right. I'm just looking for the right pronunciation. And we have Kru Ompon joining from Sweden. Is that right? Just say yes when it's yes. No, it's not Sweden. SWW. That is what country? I don't know. You can put it in the chat if you don't want to put on your sound. So today we are going to talk about Vesak and talk about Buddhist culture. Now, before we start talking about Buddhist culture, it may be useful to know that this is actually not a traditional word, Buddhist culture. It's not a word that we usually use. We are talking about Buddhist culture because tomorrow is the day that is celebrated in several countries. Today is actually, this year is actually quite special because there are several countries which celebrate Vesak on exactly the same day, which is rather rare. Normally, every country has slight differences. But this year, actually, the Taiwanese have the same day as the Thai, or maybe it's one day difference. I don't know, but it's the same weekend. And of course, the Thai people usually celebrate Vesak on the same day as Sri Lanka. That is given already, but it's quite good to see all these nice communities finding their way to celebrate Vesak. As Jitlada just said, there are actually all the countries in the world celebrate Vesak in the same month. There are a few exceptions. Every now and then there is one or two countries that celebrate it on the 1st of June, but it's nearly always in the month of May. Some countries have actually fixed the date by the government decree, decree. My English is faltering every now and then. So that is sometimes the case, but it's a good day. And in every country in the world, we celebrate the birth of the Buddha. But in some countries, they celebrate the enlightenment on another day. But in Thailand and Sri Lanka, we celebrate exactly the same day, the birth, enlightenment, and the passing of the Buddha. And we usually say passing, we do not say death, because his passing is the passing into nirvana. Or the parinirvana, the final nirvana. But that's a technical discussion. But the most important thing is that it's like the beginning, the middle, and the end of the Buddha's life. When he was born through the physical body of a human being, when he was reborn as an enlightened being, who we call the Buddha. And when he passed away from this human world. Now, in this day, there is also, it's also a good moment to reflect on the final moments of the Buddha's life. And the unique thing about the final moments of the Buddha's life is that they have been recorded very precisely the last 3 months or so in one single text, which is enormous. There have been entire books written about this text. It's known as the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, or the discourse about the final passing or the final nirvana of the Buddha. And it's known as great because it's very long. That's why it's called Maha. Anyway, in this text, this is not only about the passing of the Buddha, but it's also about the moment when he explained the principles of how a good culture of the community of Buddhists should be like. And this is not only relevant for Buddhists, it's also relevant as a culture of peace. Maybe you've heard of this term before. A culture of peace is a word that was introduced by UNESCO some time ago as a way to explain, to try to find a culture, including art and architecture, but also the way of thinking that helps to develop peace in the world. And they call this a culture of peace. There's a similar concept in Buddhism, which is known as the culture of the noble ones. The culture of the noble ones is sometimes also translated as the ways of the noble ones. And it's actually a term which is used in the Buddhist text to refer to universal principles in practicing your mind and character. But before we go into that, let's just take a look at an incident that happened during the time of the Buddha. This is a fragment of an animation film that is actually a series, a very long series about the life of the Buddha. It's now been translated in English. It's over 5 hours long. It's the longest film that was ever made about the Buddha. And it's offered for free because of funding from the it's said that it's been funded by the the royal family in Thailand. It's a very long animation film. If you are interested, just look for YouTube and look for "Thus Have I Heard" animation. Thus have I heard animation that is actually very worthwhile. It's very well translated by my fellow monks who are in the forest tradition. So they are English and American monks living in the Northeast and Thailand. And in this series, there is a moment which is from the Buddhist text when the Buddha meets his father. Here he is depicted in a historical fashion. The Buddha at that time was going to his mother, you could say, like the place where he was born, his mother country. Oh, by the way, if you want to ask anything or you want to interrupt me, just go right ahead. We can do it interactively today. So in this country known as Kapilawatu, he was actually, there was actually a king or Raja who was in control over there, and that was his father. Now, when the father heard that his son was coming back, now his father was not necessarily opposed to his son being a monk, as just completely ignorant about what it meant. He did not know much about what it meant to be a monk. So he was really actually just ignorant about it. He was not opposed, I suppose, but he also didn't support it. Now, one day he heard, well, shortly after his son had returned, they had not even met yet, when he suddenly heard the news that his son was going on alms round, which is like holding an alms bowl and going along, walking along the houses, and just people will give food to you. This is still a practice in many Buddhist countries. So this is what he did. But for many people, including Western countries, this feels like begging. You're begging like a beggar would. And you're begging and begging just like a poor person, or very poor or person, or a poor person with problems. So his father couldn't tolerate this. He couldn't bear it. He wanted his son to have a meal from him and only him. He didn't want his son to go begging on the streets. But he was a mendicant. A mendicant, for those who don't know this word, means a monk who is in the habit of living from gifts of others and who doesn't choose. Mendicants, they have existed in the past in Western countries as well, but only in the Southern Europe, and only a long time ago. It died out after a while because it's not something we are used to in the West. So his father was very angry, but the Buddha said, his father said to him, this is not a custom of our country. We don't do it like that here. If you're coming back to our country, you have to behave like the people in this country. You are my son. You are a person of nobility. You are a person of high standing. You're not supposed to act like a beggar. You know, people always think that the Buddha had this great aura and that everyone was talking politely to him all the time, but that's not the case. Even the Buddha had his enemies, you know, or had people who were angry to him. And then he said to his father, well, it may not be a custom in this country, but it's a good and noble custom. And every Buddha in the past has practiced this custom. It's not only my custom, it's the custom of people who practice themselves in a noble way. Now, when I talk about this story, you might not feel it's very relevant. But what I'm saying is that there are some things in life which are like useful to know about, even if it's not our custom. We used to think about meditation as something funny and odd a while ago. I remember from back in the 90s when I was learning about meditation, it was considered a bit odd. You know, people thought it was rather strange. It's like buying a crystal and looking at the future in the crystal, or hugging a tree or something like that. People thought it was rather odd. And then now it's changed. it's only been 20 years or so, and everyone's talking about meditation as the new running, like the new habit that everyone has to learn to stay healthy and strong. Like running used to be in the past, right? If you go back in the past, in the 50s, back in the long time ago, people used to think that running was weird, you know. Running as we do today, you run for sport, run for health. People used to ask the first people who started running for sport, they used to ask them, why are you running? Are you running from the police? They didn't understand. This is history, not so long ago. This happened with meditation as well. People thought it was strange, but now it's very common. In the United Kingdom, there are some sections of the government who actually have instituted, have installed mindfulness courses for government officials. Am I right, Tony? Yes, I think you've heard of that, right? I'm going to unmute you. I think you want to tell us something.
Yes, that's right. It's becoming quite, I think with personnel departments are promoting it, and it's becoming like the well-being of employees. It's for also helping employees' mental health. It's being taken quite seriously now. Yes,
it's common among companies, and it's becoming common even among government officials, because they practice it in a non-religious manner, right? So this is also becoming common in Holland, but it's mostly common among, rather oddly, among the defense department. I've actually been teaching quite a lot of soldiers for the last 2 years, because I've been asked to teach soldiers from the defense department about meditation. But this is not because we train meditation to soldiers so they are better soldiers and can shoot more people or something like that. We do this in order for them to have more understanding about the world around them, and to have more peace, so they can better cope with all the things that they have gone through throughout, so they can better deal with all the suffering they've had as a soldier. So this is very common in Netherlands, and even among the Marechaussee, the Dutch special police, which is a bit of a difficult work. Those actually also practice mindfulness and meditation, and it's common among apps of insurance apps. You know, these applications which you have for your insurance, your health assurance. Well, in Holland, health insurance apps almost always have a section dedicated to meditation. That's very common now these days. So we have completely changed our times and our looks, the way we look at things. This is a good thing. Now, the Buddha, he says that there are certain customs that are worthy of consideration, even if they are not part of our culture. So that's what we talk about today a little bit before I finish. Actually, the Buddha talks about this in some detail in the final moments of his life. In the last months, he mostly talks a lot about this. He talks a lot about this. They are known in Pali language, in the ancient Indian language, as the Aparihaniya Dhamma. Which means the things that allow the country or the culture to progress and not to fall back. And the Buddha said there are 7 things that all monks and all people should keep in mind. He actually teaches people as well as monks. I mean, he teaches everyone, that's what I mean. So he says that these are such important parts of a good culture that even just having one of them is enough for a country or a culture or a community to prosper, let alone all 7. Now let's take a look at this, and you might be familiar with them because they are part of our temple's culture. The first one is to meet regularly. This is part of discipline, you could say. And to work in unity. Like in our temple, it's very important to meet regularly. We do this in every department in our temple in Thailand. And in our local temples, it's always important to talk often. We also have our meals together, and if there's somebody lacking who doesn't come to the meal, especially the main meal with lunch, then we will try to find out what's going on. We would like to be complete and find out that and meet everyone at the same time. And you could argue that it's also good for prosperity within a little community like your family to have a meal together on regular times. That may be a bit old-fashioned, but it's good. Some things are good and old-fashioned. Like these days, many people work very late and sometimes they do not see their children. This can create a problem in the long run. So meet regularly, work in unity, respect traditions, and respect the elders. There's 2 things here. Respect traditions is one thing, and this is about traditions and customs, even laws that we respect and we do not want to change. For example, the Constitution. If somebody, like in the Netherlands, it happened once that a politician came and said, I want to change the Constitution. I don't want equality to be part of the Constitution or equal rights. So everyone was very mad about that because the Constitution is very important for people. We can change things, but we shouldn't reinvent the wheel. Some things are good. We don't have to change them. But if we do change things, we should respect our elders in making those decisions. This is what the Buddha said when he said, respect the elders. Some things we do need to change, but respect your elders. Know what was custom in the past and try to reinvent within those traditions. And respect the elders also means that he said that it's important for part of a good culture that prospers, that we recognize that elderly people are worthy of listening to. Now, you might think that is an Asian concept. Asian people they think it's very important to listen to your elders. I'm almost finishing. I'm almost wrapping up. But, it can be a problem in any country, if we stop listening to elderly people. So, because they are the living tradition of a country. So it's always important that we respect our elders. If you have parents, if you have teachers, if you have a neighbor that is elderly and is worthy of listening to, they are often worthy of listening to because they have been in this world before us and they often have something to tell. Finally, there's also the part where we talk about respect. There's also the part of maintaining spiritual places and maintaining spiritual teachers. But before we get to that, it's also the part of not having any hidden agendas. Something that can be destructive for a culture is if everything is determined by politics, everything is determined by greed and, ambition. And if we do not recognize that there's something more important than that. Our modern culture, our capitalist system, is based on the idea that greed is something good. This is not just criticism. This is actually something that was written by the first founders of the capitalist modern economic system, that greed can be good. But in Buddhism, we do not think of it like that. There is chanta, which is willingness to do something good, and there is greed. These two are separate. We have to distinguish that if capitalism is to survive as a good system. So there is chanta, which means willingness to do something good, and the willingness to develop, the willingness to prosper. That's good. But greed is when we look for something more than the society needs. If we start looking for a lot, then the country will be destroyed. And this is what's happening to many countries these days. No hidden agendas means that. The example that the Buddha gives himself is to not abuse women in political decisions, like forcing women to marry in order for countries or provinces to work together, so that royal families or noble families intermarriage so they can connect together. The Buddha was against this practice because it was an abuse of women. So this is quite progressive for his day and age. But let's continue with the last two parts, which is about respect. If we want to see the United Kingdom or the Netherlands or Sweden progress, we have to keep meditation centers and Buddhist temples or any temple that teaches meditation alive. And we have to do the utmost to do so. It's not only financially, but financially is part of it. Yeah. We have to do so together by volunteering, by helping to keep it up, and to ask the monks now and then, ask the teachers now and then, is there anything that I can help with? And we can help to support the center, to support the tradition. Think of the time when our country that we live in will no longer have any meditation tradition left. What a terrible thing would that be? Then we support the progress, support the development. And this is the essence of a good culture of prosperity that the Buddha taught in his final moments of his life. Those final moments we celebrate on Vesak, which is why I would like to mention it today. So this is a bit of an abstract talk, I know, but I thought maybe you could do something with it. I think those principles that are known as the Aprihaniya Dhamma, or the principles that lead to prosperity in a community, are still very relevant today. So you can find this sense of unity, or this sense of doing things together very strongly in many of our Thai temples. Then you can join and find if there's anything you can support with, whether financially or through volunteering. And you will find that it gives you some joy that is difficult to find in anything else in the world. But this is like to finish with today. Would you like to ask any question about this topic? Maybe we can stop the streaming, stop the recording for a moment. Thank you. So if there is no questions, maybe we can wrap it up. Maybe there's some announcements to be made. Do you have any, Nancy? Any announcements for tomorrow?
We already told the what happened tomorrow. It's okay.
Oh, you can repeat it. It's
Yeah. If anyone would like to join Vesak Day tomorrow, by all means, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can come and join if you live nearby, or you can catch the plane. For tomorrow, just for a day out. If you would like to.
Next week, who will be teaching next week?
Next week, I believe, will be Venerable Ronapop.
Okay, good.
Ronapop.
Okay, Lupi Ronapop will be talking about some good topic next week. And next Sunday, I will be teaching in English as well, guiding meditation on an application called Clubhouse. If you have never downloaded this, you might want to download it. There is a lot of good activities of our temple on Clubhouse these days, also in English. On 5 o'clock, or which is actually 4 o'clock, right, in the United Kingdom. 4 o'clock in the United Kingdom, there is Earth Day meditation. You can find it on the app called Clubhouse. So if you look for the app Clubhouse and then type Earth Day meditation, Earth Day meditation, written together, and then you can find a little group. And this group meditates together every day. And there's a different teacher every day, including Lumpi Pisit, Lumpi Tam, who's also teaching on this app. So we have a little question now before we wrap it up. What word do you use to translate the word for defilement of delusion? I struggle with understanding this one. So there's 3 obstacles to the clarity of mind that are known in Buddhism. They are known as the 3 defilements. In Pali language, they are known as kilesa, or in Sanskrit language as klesha. Now, these are known in all Buddhist traditions. They are greed, hatred, and delusion. Sometimes they have different numbers in different traditions, but they're always there. And the last one, delusion, is a little bit difficult to understand. It doesn't mean necessarily a mental illness. It does mean that our mind is not operating as it should be. We, for example, we don't see reality as it is. We are blinded, or we are somehow not seeing things as they really are. This can be very tangible when we are very stressed and we see problems where there are none. Or sometimes our lives are so quick and without mindfulness that we don't see the importance of the people around us. This is also an example of some form of delusion and stress. We don't actually have the clarity of mind to see what's in front of us, the people who we love, and so on. This is delusion in daily practice. But it may also mean, more at a deeper level, the sense of looking down on other people. Like you're looking down on people who have not studied as much as you have, or do not have the same wealth that you have, or the same position that you have. Or you look down on yourself. This is also the case in some people, you know. So these are, for example, the sense of arrogance, or the sense of looking down on others or yourself. This is also part of the whole problem of delusion. So there's all sorts of ways that we are not seeing things as they really are. This is known as delusion or moha in the tradition of Buddhism. We can fix this, we can solve this by often meditating and studying about the Buddhist teachings to make our mind more clear and wiser. I don't know if that helped, but anyhow, we've run through our time. If you have any more questions, you can send them to an email. My email that I use for this temple is info@dhammakaya.nl. And if you want to have any more questions. So we'll see you for the next time. For me, I will be teaching next Sunday at 4 o'clock UK time, 5 o'clock Central European time on the Clubhouse app for the Earth Day meditation group. Now I give the floor back to Nancy.
Sadhu Chakhan and P. And thank you very much, everyone, for being here today. So hopefully to see you again next week, and with Venerable teaching monk is Venerable Runapop. So at the same time, see you next week. Before we leave, say please pay respect to our teaching monk by bowing 3 times. Bow, bow, bow.
May you find happiness and health, wealth and wisdom in your life. May all your good wishes be fulfilled. And may you find inspiration on the day of Vesak in your life. Sadhu.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Chakhan Pisander.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank
you,
you.
Ashley.
Thank you,
Thank you,
George, Ashley, Tony, Kun Kuampon, Sophia, lovely, Terry. Okay, see you next week, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Take
Bye
care,
bye.
Joe.
Oh,
Get well soon.
everyone, welcome tomorrow Zoom as well.
You're
Full
welcome,
meditation.
Ashley. Thank you. Take care. See you next week.
Bye.
Yeah.
See you next week. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Count 3, 2, 1. Bye. Bye. Recording, you know.